Hi everyone, I'm Rosemary, and if you love Dollar Tree organization hacks, but are often disappointed that the products are out of stock or not carried at your local store, then this is the video for you. Here you will find over 80 organization hacks using Dollar Tree shower caddies, which are almost always available, even at the smaller stores. This is a long-form compilation video, and I have provided links to all of the original videos as well as chapters for this video in the description box below. Let's get started with part 1, where I tackled bath, makeup, accessories, jewelry, and more. These caddies can be found in the bath section at Dollar Tree, and unlike many of their other wire organizers, these ones usually tend to be in stock and can easily hold shampoo, conditioner, soap, and with the bottom hooks, a few bath and shower tools. Now, if you happen to have more than just a few shower and bath tools, an easy upgrade would be to just add one of these hooks to the bottom of the shower caddy. And you can do that by simply zip tying the two pieces together. I just put a zip tie through the hole in the hooks and through that bottom rung on the shelf and did the same to the other side, and then just clipped off the ends of the zip ties. And then here you can see how it added more space to accommodate the additional items. But if you need even more space for, say, shower gel and shave cream and razors and hubby's 3-in-1, some body scrub, as well as a buff puff, and don't forget the never-ending treasure trove of bath toys, you can simply add a second caddy right to the bottom of the first. So you can do that by either just hooking it right onto that middle hook, or more securely, you can attach it with a couple of zip ties right to that bottom rung again. Now for those bath toys, a great option would be one of these nylon bags. These come 3 to a pack at Dollar Tree, and all you need to do is just slide them right through the holes, unzip the zipper, and just stuff it with the toys or whatever other items you might need. And then here you can see the combination all together. You have the nylon bag there at the bottom with plenty of space for the bath toys. And then the razor can be placed between 2 rungs of that bottom shelf, joined by the body scrub and the buff puff, and then the other items will fill out the rest of the caddy, which again was attached to the original caddy. From here, we're going to take the caddy outside the shower. And so we're going to use a couple of different options. Here are some over-the-door hangers. These are single ones. And then there is a multi-hook over-the-door hanger. And these are all available at Dollar Tree. And what's neat about the multi-hook one is that you can do a couple of caddies at the same time. And you'll see coming up as to why you might want to do that. In addition, you may want to hang some of these organizers on the wall. And you can do that with some command strips, but make sure that you are following the package directions and that you do have the appropriate weight. You can also attach with screws, but if you do that, make sure you're going into a stud, and if not, definitely use an anchor. For my first out of the shower organizer for my shower caddy, I'm going to be using these pencil cups that you get in the stationery department at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just zip tie these to the sides of the caddy. Now I'm going to be using those super skinny little zip ties, and what I'm creating here is a holder for hair tools, like a hairdryer and flat iron, both in the cups with the wires going into the middle section, and then some space underneath for some additional tools and brushes and combs. Now, if you wanted to add to this, say for example, a space for your rollers, you could use again that nylon bag trick that we used for the bath toys just previously. And if you wanted to accommodate more brushes and combs and other hair tools, you could again add the hooks as done with the shower organizer. Next up is hair accessories. Now, if you have a basket like this, full of headbands and barrettes and clips and bobby pins, this next organizer is a great solution. First, I'm going to take a couple of strips of this Dollar Tree ribbon and just loop it through the wire of the bottom shelf. I'll just loop it there around the back and then just take some hot glue and glue those two pieces together. I'll just repeat that process for the second strip. And then just clip my barrettes all the way down along the ribbon. For the hair elastics and bobby pins, I'm going to be using this 3-section acrylic bin with lid that I'll just place there on the bottom shelf, with headbands going on the bottom hooks. And then the clips will be attached all the way around the handle. The middle section will be used for hair products and a brush. And then here you can see how the whole unit comes together. And lastly, here is another hairstyling organizer from a previous video, which I will link here and in the description. And now moving on to makeup, I'm going to go ahead and use that same hair tools organizer from earlier, except this time I'm going to take some of my headbands and stretch them there across the two bottom hooks to create a little shelf there at the bottom. The middle section of the caddy is going to create a great space to add some makeup palettes. So you can fit 2 or 3 in on each side. And then the 2 cups there to either side is a great space to hold your brushes and other tools. And then the shelves can be used for makeup products. Because the items are small and will move around, this organizer is best placed on a wall where it is stationary. I also used a screw to attach it so that I can make sure it is nice and secure. Next up is another makeup organizer. This time I'm going to take that top bar of the caddy and bend it down and back. Then I'm going to again take some headbands and stretch those across the 2 bottom hooks to create another shelf. Next I'm going to take some of these acrylic dessert cups from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to place them in a pattern kind of going one to the front, one to the back, and then I'm going to attach those 2 together with a bobby pin. And I'll just place it there in the middle and then go ahead and get another cup, place that one towards the back, attach with the bobby pin, and repeat that pattern for all 6 cups all the way across the top shelf. And then for the middle shelf, I'm going to be using this metal desk organizer that you can get in the stationery section. Now this is the same one that matches the cups that were used earlier, and you can use it to place all different types of little pots and cushion type cosmetics. And then for the cups, I'm going to be putting things like pencils and mascara and brushes and those types of items. And then again, I am hanging this on a wall to make it more stationary, but I did add a rubber band there to the back that wraps around the shelf, that's kind of holding that metal piece in place a little better. Now a whole other option would be to create a freestanding caddy. And all I needed to do with this was to take the 2 makeup caddies in this case and zip tie the 2 back to back together. And then you can see how I can sit this on a counter, or it can go on a shelf in a cabinet, and it has 2 sides to it, holds all of your items, and no need to even hang it on the wall. Now once it's time to take all that makeup off, you may be like me and have invested in a whole bunch of different skincare products. And now you may be struggling to find a home for all these products, but this next organizer may help. And I'm going to jump in with 2 of those caddies right off the bat. And that's where this multi-hook hanger comes in handy. And all I'm going to do is take 2 of the caddies, sit them side by side, and then just zip tie them together. Now all I need to do is hang them on my hook and fill them up. The hooks are great for brushes and tools, and the little shelf for some towels and creams, and then of course that midsection for the lotions and washes and masks. For a standalone caddy, all I needed to do was take it off the hooks, fold it in half, and then secure the other side with the zip ties. Even though the caddy sits on these little feet, it is pretty stable. But in order to maximize stability, the best thing to do is really cut off the little feet with some wire cutters. Another alternative would be to add those headbands. That also creates another shelf there at the bottom, and it also helps for traction and to increase stability. And then you can just fill it up with all your goodies, and there you have it again, another freestanding caddy that you can place on a countertop, or you can put it in a cabinet or on a shelf for storage and take it out as you need it. Next up is a nail polish caddy, which I did feature in a previous video, but I'm going to go ahead and give a quick refresher here. For this caddy, I used 2 of the acrylic bins with lids. Now I did remove the lids from the bins. I'm also going to be removing the bottoms of the caddy, so those 2 hooks at the bottom of the shower caddy, and then also the 2 middle shelves. Once the shelves were removed, I just placed some E6000 there along the wire and then placed the bins on top. To make sure that the bins stayed attached to the wires while the glue dried, I just made sure that they were on a slight incline while drying. And then here again is what the organizer looked like once everything was dry and the bins were ready to use. And now for this year's upgrade, I did go ahead and create a second nail polish caddy, which I attached to the first one back to back, creating this freestanding model. Next up is jewelry, and I'm going to start with one of the shower caddies that I've already attached one of the hook units to. Then I'm going to just take the top shelf and I'm going to fold it up this time. I'm also going to add a couple of zip ties to each corner and then fold up the next rung and also zip tie that into place. Next, I'm going to take one of these organization bins. These are the ones that you get $3 for $1 at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to just zip tie those to the shower caddy. And I'm going to just put those through the slots, the zip ties through the slots in the bins and just attach it there to the back of the caddy. Next, I'm going to take another one of those metal desk organizers, and that's going to go there on the bottom shelf. But I just wanted to take a quick second here to show you what I meant by securing that box a little better with a rubber band. So I just took a regular rubber band and I wrapped both the box and the bottom shelf with the rubber band. Now this will serve to secure the box a little better to the shelf while still enabling me to see and access the contents. To create a space for scarves and belts, I'm going to add one of these scarf and belt hangers, also from the Dollar Tree, that I'm going to just attach to the bottom of this organizer, but it is a little short because I do want to put necklaces on those hooks. So what I want to do to extend the connection a little bit is to add one of these drawer or cabinet locks that you can find in the baby section of the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to just kind of hook it on there, and that's going to create a little bit of an extender for me to add my hanger to the bottom. And now here you can see the organizer all together. There along the bottom are the scarves. In the scarf hanger, along the hooks are some necklaces, and then in the metal bin are some stud earrings and pins. In the white plastic bin are bracelets, and then there along the top are hanging earrings. Lastly, I just want to finish up with a quick and easy multi-purpose organizer using those white bins again, and this time I'm again going to remove those middle shelves and then just zip tie the white bins to both the top bracket and then that bottom shelf. And then this creates a great multi-purpose organizer that you can use for all sorts of things. I like to use them for organizing over-the-counter meds, as well as a little first aid kit. And then I could also do both and hang them side by side, or if there's not enough space, I can hang them one right under the other with some zip ties and hang them vertically. Now for a quick and easy caddy, if you have mostly bottles and boxes in your over-the-counter kit, you just need to take one of the shower caddies, bend down that first rung, and then on the bottom you can just add some rubber bands across the two hooks and then just fill up your caddy. A quick and easy option to get meds, supplements, and other items under control. And then here it is again, paired with the caddy from the other over-the-counter medications, placed back to back and zip tied together to create a standalone storage unit that again can be placed on a countertop or stored away in a cabinet or on a shelf. And now it's time for part 2, where I will be focusing on kitchen and pantry ideas. And I'm going to start with a quick and easy hack to help organize baking, roasting, and frying pans. Now these are the Dollar Tree shower caddies, and you usually find these in the bath section of the Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do is take 2 of the shower caddies and place them head to head, and then slide the hook parts underneath of the wire frame. Next comes the zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie the hook of one caddy to the bottom shelf of the other, and then where the 2 caddies meet. And then if you're not familiar with zip ties, all you need to do is take the tie, wrap it around the 2 portions you want to connect, and then slide the end through the lock and pull tight. Then just cut off the tails. And then that's it. Putting the 2 caddies together in this way creates an excellent pan rack that fits nicely in a standard size cabinet. Now I just want to point out that this combination creates multiple equal size slots and then one larger slot there in the middle. The smaller slots are perfect for your standard size baking, roasting, and frying pans, and the center slot fits perfectly a standard sized loaf pan. Another option for the larger space would be to use it for oven mitts and pot holders. Or you can add one of these Dollar Tree baskets to the middle and use it to store multiple different items, including cooking utensils. Now here you can see the rack in the cabinet, and you can see how nicely it fits and how all the roasting, baking, and frying pans fit so nicely. And also those ends where the hooks are, that's a perfect spot to store some cutting boards. Next, I'm going to use one of the caddies to create a pot lid holder. And to do that, I'm going to just bend up the first 2 rungs of the rack. Then I'm going to use a wire cutter to remove the cross pieces on the second 2 rungs. And I'll just continue with that all the way across the top. And then I will flip it over and continue to clip those cross pieces there along the bottom. Now I'm keeping that frame in place. I want the frame to stay. Just remove all of the cross pieces. And then once that's done, I can just go ahead and bend it up like I did the top 2 rungs. And then all you need to do is take your lids and slide them into the slots. Now because my lids are this kind of thicker glass type lid, I wasn't able to use the second slot, but could easily put my other lids into the 3rd and 4th slots. But if you do have thinner lids, you may be able to use all 4 slots. And then here is the lid rack hanging on the inside of my cabinet door. And I did use a command hook to hang the rack, but always make sure that you buy the correct weight and follow all of the package instructions. Now, if you are still looking for a home for those oven mitts and cooking utensils, this next hack may be a good solution. So for this one, I'm going to take one of the shower caddies and one of the utility hooks and zip tie the 2 together. Then I'll use the upper portion to hold the mitts and the hooks at the bottom to hold the cooking utensils. And then here you can see everything come together, and I even have space for a couple of those silicone fingertip mitts that I put there on the shelf in between. Here's a quick and easy way to get herbs, spices, and other seasonings organized and off the counter. For this one, I took another caddy and folded the first rung down and back. Then I took one of these Dollar Tree organization bins and zip tied it to the back of the frame. That makes a perfect holder for spice bottles, and then the shelves below can also be used. Here I put some rubs as well as broth packets and bouillon cubes, and the hooks below can be used for dish towels, mitts, etc. Now, if you are in need of more bottle space, here is another spice rack from a shower caddy that I did in a previous DIY, which I will link here and in the description. Now that you've made lots of wonderful food, here's a quick and easy plate and utensil caddy, also great for cookouts. I just took 2 of the caddies and zip tied them back to back. On one side, I folded down the top rung to better accommodate the plates. Then I took 4 of these mesh pencil holders from the Dollar Tree and zip tied them to the sides of the caddy using these small zip ties that I got also from Dollar Tree. Also, I wanted to point out that when I attach the cups, I am attaching them to the second rung on the caddy. That's because on the one side I did fold down the first rung, so just be aware of that as you are attaching them. I also wanted to point out that I did leave the little feet on this caddy because I kind of think it adds to the aesthetics, and since the items are lightweight, it's not going to cause too much of a balancing issue. And then here you can see the finished caddy all ready for the cookout. Down at the bottom section, I was able to place some napkins, and then in the cups, of course, all of the utensils. And in the front, I have the plates, and if you go around the back, I have space for some bowls. And then here you can see it on the bowl side, and you'll notice that the other side, the plate side, has just the 2 rungs, and the bowl side has 3. Now for the next set of caddies I'm going to be doing the same thing where I'm going to zip tie 2 of the shower caddies back to back. Except for these, I'm going to actually go ahead and remove the little feet. Now this is in order to get more balance because the items I'm going to be using in these next caddies are heavier items and they will kind of topple one side to the other if you don't remove. And then again, I'm just going to go ahead and zip tie the 2 caddies back to back. And then that will create a sturdy standalone caddy for all types of different things, starting with a condiment caddy for that cookout. Now, even though I add heavy, full-size bottles of mustard and ketchup to the one side, the caddy is balanced and doesn't topple. But I will be adding some barbecue sauce and mayo to the other side. Then underneath there's space for one of these acrylic 3-section bins with a lid that I also got from Dollar Tree, and they're great for adding things like pickles, relish, and onions. You can even add labels to the containers if you like, and you can see what a nice presentation that it makes on your table or counter. And it also makes it easy to transport the items from space to space. Another option would be a dressing caddy, and with the addition of some fixins down below like olives, bacon, and cheese, you can make your own little salad bar. And then how about some sundaes for dessert? You can just add some whipped cream and syrups, and then things like sprinkles, nuts, and cherries down the bottom. And for those who enjoy a nice cup of coffee with dessert, how about a syrup caddy? And you can add different sweeteners there down below. Speaking of coffee, how about a nice coffee, tea, and cocoa caddy? For this one, I'm going to snip the handle off right around where it bends with some wire cutters. Then I'm going to take some of these headbands that I also got from the Dollar Tree and just place those around where the two hooks are at the bottom. Next, I'm going to take some of those white organization bins, and I need 3 of those, and luckily they do come 3 for $1. Then I'm going to place one of the bins on the bottom shelf, one on the shelf above, and then the third one will go on that top rung. Then I'm going to zip tie those into place by tying the zip tie through the slots in the basket and then around the metal frame of the caddy. And I'm going to do that on both the right and left sides and in the middle on both the top and the bottom of each bin. For the top one, I'll just zip tie there along the bottom. Then on the bottom where the bands are, I can add some tea bags. In the bins, I can do some coffee pods. Then in the space between the first and second bin, I can also add some packets of hot cocoa. Now that we have the coffee organized, how about a spot for some mugs? I'm going to start by again removing the handle from the caddy, but this time the frame is going to be mounted underneath of a cabinet or shelf. Now pretend for a moment that this is the underside of your cabinet or shelf. If you were hanging lightweight items such as dish towels, you can get away with using some command type hooks that you could place like shown to attach the rack. However, if you want to use a rack like this for heavier items such as mugs and glasses, you will definitely need to use one of these strap type brackets like the ones I'm using here from Closet Made. These brackets are then screwed into the wood on the underside of the shelf or cabinet. You can get these Closet Made brackets at Lowe's or Home Depot and even on Amazon, and I will supply a link in the description. Now, here you can see the hook version installed on the underside of my cabinet. This is the underneath view, and then here it is from the front view. From here, I can add some towels to the open racks and then use some S-hooks to store some utensils or other lightweight items. Now this next option is really neat, but you definitely need to use brackets screwed into the wood. The hooks will definitely not cut it for these heavier items because you're not just needing to worry about the weight, but you're also working against gravity. Let's have some more fun with this rack idea and head on over to the pantry. For this one, I'm again going to remove those cross pieces on the bottom 2 shelves using my wire cutters. Then I'm going to remove the handle, but this time I'm going to cut down closer to that horizontal piece. Then I'm going to take the hooks at the bottom of the caddy and bend them backwards in the opposite direction. So now your rack should look like this. And basically what you'll be able to do now is slide that on to the bottom of your shelf, and the hooks at the front will support the front of the rack, and then you can add a couple of hooks or brackets to the back of the rack to support the back end. From there, you can add one of these Dollar Tree organization bins that fit perfectly in the rack and create a perfect home for snack items, sponges, cloths, and the like. And then here you can see the empty rack with the bent back rack hooks secured to the edge of the shelf. And then if you take a look underneath, you can see the command hooks supporting the back end. Then the basket can be placed in the rack and used either as a drawer or remove the bin completely and use it as serveware. Alternately, you can just place items directly onto the rack like I did here with my parchment and wax papers, giving me extra space so I didn't have to pile the boxes on top of each other. And then here is a quick and easy hanging option for food wrap and bags. All you need to do is take one of the caddies and remove the third shelf. Then voila, instant food wrap box holders. You can make multiples and hang them side by side on an over-the-door hook, or zip tie 2 together vertically to create a super space-saving option. Another pantry organization staple is the root vegetable bin. And I'm going to make one by again folding down the first rung of the shower caddy and then adding one of these oval metal baskets that I'm going to flatten out a little bit by squeezing the sides together. Then I'm going to attach it to the caddy with some zip ties by threading the ties through the weave of the basket and around the back horizontal bar of the caddy. Then I will also add 2 more zip ties around the top of the basket and then around the handle, but notice that I'm leaving a little bit of slack for those to accommodate the smaller size of the basket. Lastly, I will add 1 zip tie to the bottom. Next, I'm going to add a second basket, which I will also flatten out a little bit to the bottom of the caddy by bending in the bottom hooks a little bit and pushing the hooks through the weave of the basket. I will then further secure the basket with 3 more zip ties attached loosely to the bottom shelf. Lastly, I'll just add these wire rectangle baskets that you can find in the kitchen section to the shelves. And then here you can see my bin filled with some onions and some garlic in that first rectangular basket. And then I added some chicken stock in that second shelf. And at the bottom, the bin is filled with some potatoes. Now, if you need more space for your potatoes, another option would be to use one of these nylon mesh bags that you can get in the laundry area, and they come 3 to a pack, and they're made of this really durable, non-tearable nylon, and you can use, again, the bottom hooks at the bottom of the caddy to attach the bag. Just simply push it through the holes in the nylon mesh, and then also use a few zip ties along the top of the bag, and then you're good to go. Just fill it up with your contents. And then here is another versatile pantry storage option. And I'm going to make it the same way as I made the previous one, except this time I'll be using 2 of these large basket weave plastic bins. Now these bins are a great size, and you can see how they can hold 9 packages of ramen, multiple bags of rice or ready pasta, how about some tuna pouches and meal kits, or some popcorn and mac and cheese boxes. To attach the top basket, I threaded zip ties underneath of the horizontal bar and through the basket weave in the middle of the basket, and then also 2 zip ties towards the top through the second row of the basket weave and around the handle of the caddy. In order to create clearance to get items in and out of the second bin, I had to remove the crossbars in front of the bottom shelf with some wire cutters, but made sure to retain that back horizontal bar. Next, I pushed the bottom hooks through the basket weave, but I did so on the second row of the weave, leaving the first row so that I could thread through a zip tie and attach the basket to the frame at that spot. I also added 3 more zip ties going through the weave of the basket and then attaching it to that bottom horizontal bar. Lastly, I just bent those hooks upwards to further secure the basket. And then it's ready to fill with all your goodies, and you still do have that middle caddy shelf available. Here I just again added one of those rectangular wire baskets, but you can use the shelf as is as well. You can also make multiples of these and hang them side by side on one of those Dollar Tree over-the-door multi-hook units. And now it's time for part 3, where I tackle the garage, laundry, and basement. And again, links can be found in the description box below if you want to navigate directly to the original video. But for this video, I'm going to kick things off with cleaning supplies, and I'll be using a shower caddy just as is. Now these caddies can be found in the bath section of the Dollar Tree, and what's really nice about these is that they're almost always in stock. What's also nice is the front section here is large enough to accommodate several regular sized bottles, in this case cleaning supplies. But in order to conserve some space on top, I'm going to take this trigger bottle and hang it from the bottom shelf. In addition, I'm going to take one of these mesh bags, these come 3 to a pack, and then just slide it onto the bottom hooks through the holes in the mesh. Then I can fill the bag with some dust cloths and microfiber towels. And then here you can see how the whole unit comes together with the mesh bag, trigger bottles, and the other cleaning supplies up top, all hanging on the back of a door using an over-the-door hook. Next, I'm going to make another cleaning supply organizer, but this time I'm going to take the regular caddy and then just add one of these utility hooks to the bottom. Now, I just wanted to point out that Dollar Tree does sell 2 different sizes of these hooks, but I'm going to go ahead and use the smaller one for this project. Then I'm just going to attach it to the bottom of the caddy with a couple of zip ties. And to secure the zip tie, you simply place the end through the lock and pull tight. And I'm going to go ahead and do that on both sides. And then you just go ahead and cut off the tails. And then here you can see the finished project. The hooks can be used to hold brooms, mops, and dusters. And then you still have space on the bottom shelf for some sponges and brushes. And then again, the cleaning supplies in the little pocket up front. And then another option would be to hang both of them side by side. They are compact enough to fit on a standard size door, and you can attach them with a multi-hook over the door hook. Next, I'll be heading into the laundry, and I wanted to start by making a laundry product / drying rack combo. And so to make, I'm going to take one of these Dollar Tree cooling racks and just zip tie it there to the bottom of the shower caddy. And then again, just go back and cut off the tails. And then from here, you can see how those zip ties create a hinge between the rack and the caddy. Next, I'm going to take one of these chain link plant hangers, and I only need 2 of the 3 chain links, so I'm going to remove one of those. And then with the 2 remaining, I'm going to hook those on to the bottom of the rack. Then I can use the hook at the top of the hanger to pull the rack up and secure it in place. And then here you can see how it would hang when it's not in use. It would just hang flat, but then when you need it, you can pull it up and hook it on to the top. To get it straighter, I did hook it onto the hook itself, and that creates a nice space for some things that need to air dry. And if you need it larger, you can do 2 side by side. Another option for the rack attachment would be to create a lost sock holder, and you can do that by just zip tying on some of these wood clothespins to the rack. Now I was able to get 2 rows of clothespins attached, one at the top and one at the bottom. 1 zip tie would probably do, but if you prefer, you can do 2 zip ties as well. And then here is the laundry caddy with the lost sock attachment. And as you can see, you still have space to add some other laundry items as well. A big hit from the previous videos in this series was to create standalone countertop caddies. And I do that by using wire cutters to clip off the bottom hooks, then zip tie 2 caddies back to back. I use 3 zip ties down one side, then fold it in half and add 3 zip ties down the other side. For the caddies in this video, I'm also going to add these mesh pencil cups, and I'm going to just attach those with these small black zip ties. Now these are nice because they fit right through the small holes of the mesh, and I'm going to kind of do them cat-a-corner, 1 to each side. First, I did a laundry caddy, which is a great option if you live in an apartment that has a communal laundry room. And you can fit bleach, softener, even small bottles of laundry detergent. And stain sticks and pens can go in the cups, with space underneath for dryer sheets. Next, I did a cleaning caddy with space for cleanser, all-purpose cleaner, furniture polish, and air fresheners up top, gloves and brushes in the cups, and cleaning cloths in the space down below. Next up, I'm going to corral some flashlights and batteries using just a plain, as-is shower caddy. You can see how nicely the standard size flashlights fit into the main compartment. Then batteries can go in one of the white Dollar Tree organizing bins on the shelf below. And the hooks at the bottom make great holders for the battery-operated lanterns. To create a battery organizer, I took one of the caddies and folded the top rung down and back. Then I took one of the organizer bins and zip-tied it to the frame, placing 1 zip tie to each side and threading it through the weave of the basket. I'll use 2 more organizer bins on the shelves below to hold various batteries of different sizes. And then here you can see both caddies hanging on the wall. Now, since the batteries and the flashlights are heavier items, I did hang them off of a screw that I did screw into a stud in the wall. Next up is a couple of tool organizers, starting with a screwdriver organizer. And to make, I'm going to take one of the organizer bins and place it face down on the caddy, covering the first 2 rungs, and then zip tie in place. I'm going to add 1 zip tie to each side at the top, and then go down underneath and go ahead and add 1 zip tie to each side on the bottom as well. But then later on, after I was using it, I realized that it really needed to be a little stronger, so I did go back and add 3 zip ties to the top middle. But once the bin is in place, you can go back and just add your screwdrivers, just sliding them through the slots in the bin. And then the slots on the bottom shelf can be used to hold pliers and wire cutters. I made another tool organizer by taking the caddy and utility hook combo, like the one from the cleaning caddy, and then again folded down the top rung and attached one of the white organizing bins. I then took another one of the organizing bins and attached that to the caddy a little further up the handle. In the bins, I could add wrenches and ratchet sets, and then on the shelves below, I used some of these food containers to hold screws and hooks, as well as one of these acrylic 3-piece sets to also add some more screws and other hardware. I'll use the hooks at the bottom for tools. And then here you can see both of the tool caddies hanging side by side. And again, since these are holding heavier items, I did use a screw attached to a stud to hang these. Now, of course, you can make multiples of these and in different combinations to suit your needs. Next up are a couple of car care caddies. And for the first one, I'm going to use a regular caddy with just one of the nylon bags attached there at the bottom to hold the different cleaning cloths. You can use the shelf for mitts and sponges and the top section for car wash products. For the second car care caddy, I'm going to be using the caddy and hook combo. And again, in that center section, some nice large sponges could fit there and other car cleaning products. And then the hooks below can hold brushes, squeegees, and the like. And then here are the two side by side. And you can see where both of them together creates ample space for all of your car care needs. And then in addition, car care products would also make a great option for those standalone caddies. You can fit the cleaning products and large sponges there in the top sections, and then brushes and mitts in the cups and cloths down below. Another category often in need of organizing is garden tools, and the caddy hook combo makes a great option. Kneeling pads and gloves fit well in the upper compartment, while tools and clippers can hang on the hooks below. Items like plant food can go on the shelf, and once you have it hanging on the wall, you can add watering cans and spray bottles to the sides. The little standalone caddies are another great option for gardening tools. However, you will need to make some adjustments to properly fit the gardening items. As you can see, on one side of the caddy, I removed the middle shelf with some wire cutters, and then on the other side of the caddy, I kept the middle shelf, but removed 3 of the spokes so that the handles of the gardening tools could fit in. To better hold the tools in place, I also added a large rubber band. So I just slid that rubber band right around the bottom of the caddy and up above that middle shelf. Now when I place the tool handles inside, I place them underneath of the rubber band and then through the holes that I made in the shelf. And then here you can see the adjusted caddy. There are the 3 tools sitting nicely in the one side with the kneeling pad on the other side of the caddy, and then the gloves and the scissors and other clippers in the cups on the side. Now, if your concern is larger gardening tools like shovels and rakes, then here is a quick and easy holder made by attaching 2 caddies together head to head and then zip tying where the top hook meets the bottom shelf, on the sides, and again where the shelf meets the hook. Now to attach this holder to the wall, I would suggest using these closet-made clips. Now you can get these at Lowe's or Home Depot or even on Amazon. I will supply a link in the description box. And you can see where they just kind of wrap around the frame, and then you can put 2 screws in the top and the bottom. It holds it nicely in place. Now you would definitely want to attach these with the screws and the anchors that come in the package. You can put one at the top, one at the bottom to each side. But you will notice that these hooks are a little bit wide or a little large for the rack. So I would suggest also first just wrapping it with some tape in order to make a more tight fit. Thicker items like shovels and rakes can go in the slots in the middle, and thin items like brooms can fit in the hooks on the ends. A holder like this could also be used for sports items like baseball and softball bats, hockey and lacrosse sticks. Just make sure that you place the holder at the appropriate height on the wall. For another sports gear organizer, I'm going to go back to the same caddy I used to do the battery storage. And for this one, again, if you recall, all I did was bend down that first rung and then attach one of the white bins to the rack. From there, I added a couple of more of the bins. In this case, I'm using ping pong balls and badminton birdies. And you can see then at the bottom, easily add some of the rackets there to the hooks. And here you can see it hanging on the wall. There's plenty of space for 4 of the rackets in this case, and then all of the balls and birdies up in the top bins. Another option for bats and balls would be to remove the 2 lower bins and then to add one of the mesh bags, this time holding some baseball or wiffle balls. And again, you can just slide the mesh through the hooks at the bottom, and then the 2 shelves in between are great holders for bats. In the top bin, you can put a catcher's mitt or batting gloves. These are actually my son's lineman gloves, but you get the idea. You know what I mean. And then here you can see it hanging on the wall, keeping your bats, balls, and gloves nice and tidy. For the next organizer, I'm again going to be using the caddy and hook combo, but this time I'll also be adding the large mesh laundry bag from the Dollar Tree. These are great for holding all of your larger balls like playground, beach, and basketballs. And then you can hang it right off of one of the hooks, along with a bunch of other outdoor toys like jump ropes and bubbles and bubble blowers and chalk and bug catchers and flag football gear and all the rest of those summertime toys. You may also be in need of some pool toy organization, and this combo could really help. So all I did was take one of the caddies and one of these plate separators. I secured one zip tie towards the back and then one towards the front, and then did the same on the other side. And then here's how I used it. There's some splash ball gear there at the top, and then in the bin are some goggles and pool torpedoes, and then of course down below are some pool noodles. Now these are the thinner pool noodles from the Dollar Tree, but if you did have a thicker pool noodle, you would need to remove a couple of the rungs there on the plate holder with some wire cutters to accommodate the thicker pool noodles. And then after swimming, it's time for fishing. And I'm going to make a quick and easy fishing gear organizer by again using the caddy with the folded down top rung and the white bin attached. And I'm going to make 2 of those. And then here you can see the 2 caddies hung about 4 feet apart, and in the bins are things like lures and hooks, weights, fishing line, a bait box, and a knife. And then on the shelves, those are holding the fishing poles, and then additional gear can be hung off of the hooks on the bottom. And now it's time for the final part of the series, part 4, where I am tackling closets, craft, office, and desk areas. I wanted to start with a multi-purpose hanging rack that can be used to organize items such as handbags, shoes and boots, leggings and tees, and sweaters and hoodies, and so much more. To make, I'll be using 2 shower caddies and 2 wire cooling racks. And the first step was to take the shower caddies, and on that first rack, I just bent it down and tucked it behind the second rack. And then I did that for both of the caddies. Next, using some wire cutters, I removed the second shelf from the bottom. Then I took the cooling rack and zip tied that to the bottom shelf of the caddy. Now I am zip tying to the bottom part of the shelf and not that top rung, and I am putting 1 zip tie to each side. And then I repeated that for the other caddy. Next, I attached a second cooling rack to both sides of the caddy, again with 2 zip ties there to the back, and then I also added a couple of zip ties there in the middle as well. And then I just cut off the zip tie tails, and from here it's pretty much good to go. However, the silver on the racks was bugging me a little bit, so I did decide to paint those with some white spray paint to give a more finished and cohesive look. But otherwise, it's ready to hang from a closed rack with either zip ties or shower curtain rings. And then here you can see the finished project holding some handbags, and you can see how that top shelf can accommodate larger bags while the bottom shelf can hold smaller ones. And then next we have some sweaters. On the top shelf, those are 5 extra large men's sweaters, and then on the bottom shelf, an extra large men's fall jacket. With the addition of some Dollar Tree baskets, you can create drawer-like storage for items such as underwear, socks, leggings, and tees. And don't forget those hooks at the bottom, which can be used to hang items like scarves and belts. This rack also makes some great storage for boots and shoes. The top shelf is pretty tall as is, but you can always make it taller if needed with the addition of some more shower curtain rings. And then here is another caddy and wire rack combo, this time to help with organization for heels. Just hang the rack horizontally from the hooks and zip tie into place. From here, hang the caddy from a wall or over the door hook and slide the heels through the slots in the wire rack to hold in place. The caddy portion can be used to store no-show socks and shoe care items. Another great use for this caddy and wire rack combo would be as a tie organizer. The caddy portion can be used to store deodorant, body spray, sunglasses, wallet, and keys, and ties can be folded and hung on the slots to keep them tidy and organized and on display for easy selection. I have had multiple requests for a DIY shelf separator. So here is a quick and easy one using 2 caddies and a Dollar Tree sign. First, I removed the second from the bottom shelf on each caddy using wire cutters, then also removed the bottom hooks. I did go ahead and paint my sign white, but that part is optional as one side will face the shelf while the other will be covered with clothes. Next, I folded down both of the top crossbars, and I did that on both caddies. To attach the sign, I used some E6000 glue on the bottom shelf, then placed the sign on top and weighted it down until the glue was set. Then all you need to do is place it on a shelf and fill with clothes. Here again are the 5 extra large men's sweaters, and there's still room to spare. If you want a more narrow or wider separator, you can adjust the size of the base accordingly. Now this hanging basket organizer from earlier is a great option, especially if you want the baskets to be removable. But to create this style of organizer, we did have to take away the additional storage that the caddies themselves would offer. So if removable baskets is not a must-have, here is another hanging basket option. For this version, I'll be keeping the caddies completely intact and will now be attaching the basket to the back side of the caddy. And we'll zip tie again to the bottom shelf, but this time I will be attaching to the top part of the shelf. Next, I will attach a second basket to that top crossbar, again zip tying to both sides. And now here you can see the hanging baskets with additional storage now along the outside as well, so you can have items like socks and underwear in the baskets, and then have extra storage for items like shampoo, toothpaste, and soap, and even add a little nylon bag there along the bottom for additional storage. This is a great option for a dorm room or any small space. And then to make a longer unit, you could easily make a second hanging basket organizer and attach the two together by zip tying the top of one to the bottom shelf of the other. With the additional weight, it's probably also better to use zip ties when attaching to the clothes rod. To gain additional storage, you could also zip tie utility hooks to the bottom of the caddies. And then this combo by itself, just hanging on a wall or on an over-the-door hook, makes a great organizer for items like belts, scarves, purses, umbrellas, and other closet items. But don't stop there. Versions of this combo, as well as other caddy combos, can be used for jewelry, hair tools and accessories, and makeup. All of these organizers were featured in previous videos, and I will provide a link here and in the description. Another great organizer combo is the caddy along with the Dollar Tree dish rack. All I'm doing here is attaching again the two pieces together with zip ties. And I did attach the rack to the bottom shelf, and I did use 2 zip ties to each side. And then this combo makes a great organizer for flip-flops and flat sandals. It also makes a great option to store items like hats, gloves, and umbrellas. Another great option for hats, gloves, and scarves would be to use this multi-purpose organizer made from a caddy and Dollar Tree baskets. This organizer can be used all around the house, including in the pantry, in the coat closet as mentioned, and it's also great for underwear and bras, and so many more options. To make, I'm going to take one of the caddies and take that first rung and push it down and back behind the second rung. Then I'm going to take one of the Dollar Tree brown weave baskets and place it on top of that second rung. I'll also be adding a second one down there at the bottom. To attach the top basket, I threaded zip ties underneath of the horizontal bar and through the basket weave in the middle of the basket, and then also 2 zip ties towards the top through the second row of the basket weave and around the handle of the caddy. In order to create clearance to get items in and out of the second bin, I had to remove the crossbars in front of the bottom shelf with some wire cutters, but made sure to retain that back horizontal bar. Next, I pushed the bottom hooks through the basket weave, but I did so on the second row of the weave, leaving the first row so that I could thread through a zip tie and attach the basket to the frame at that spot. I also added 3 more zip ties going through the weave of the basket and then attaching it to that bottom horizontal bar. Lastly, I just bent those hooks upwards to further secure the basket. And then from there you can hang on walls, over doors, inside cabinets, all around for countless organization options. Now here's another caddy organizer from the kitchen video, which also has some great closet applications. And what I'm going to do is take 2 of the shower caddies and place them head to head, and then slide the hook parts underneath of the wire frame. Next comes the zip ties, and I'm going to zip tie the hook of one caddy to the bottom shelf of the other, and then where the 2 caddies meet, and then again down here at the bottom. And then that's it. All you need to do now is sit it on a shelf and add some items, like flip-flops and sandals, small handbags, umbrellas and clutches, even folded shirts and leggings. Find order with this organizer. Some of the favorite organizers from this series have been the standalone caddies, like this one for paper plates and plastic cutlery, which also makes a great desk and office supplies organizer. Here you can see that same caddy now with pens, pencils, dry erase markers, and highlighters, as well as a Dollar Tree acrylic box holding paper clips, rubber bands, and tacks. There is also space for a full-size stapler, glue, and dry erase spray, and in the back a spot for Post-it notes and tape. To make, I just took 2 of the caddies and zip tied them back to back. On one side I folded down the top rung to better accommodate the plates. Then I took 4 of these mesh pencil holders from the Dollar Tree and zip tied them to the sides of the caddy using these small zip ties that I got also from Dollar Tree. Also, I wanted to point out that when I attach the cups, I am attaching them to the second rung on the caddy. That's because on the one side I did fold down the first rung, so just be aware of that as you are attaching them. I also wanted to point out that I did leave the little feet on this caddy because I kind of think it adds to the aesthetics, and since the items are lightweight, it's not going to cause too much of a balancing issue. And then here again, you can see how much this little caddy can hold. It really packs a punch. So you can get a lot of storage for all of those items that need to find a home. And then to create a wall version, it would of course just be the one caddy with the 2 cups attached to either side. This makes a great option when desktop space is at a premium, and it also works great for craft organization. For example, that same caddy can be used to hold heat and glue guns with the cords going in the middle section of the caddy, and a basket can hold glue sticks on the shelf. Speaking of crafts, how about a paint and paintbrush organizer? Again, using one of the caddies, I'm going to just fold down that top rung and tuck it back there behind the second rung. That immediately creates a great space for my larger size paints, and these chalk paints that are this size here fit in very nicely 3 across. A little Dollar Tree organizer bin fits nicely there on the bottom shelf, holding some brushes, and the hooks below could also serve to hold some brushes as well as if you wanted to add another one of those utility hook units, you can fit even more brushes. And then here at the top, I'm going to attach a little bucket, again with some zip ties, and then that's going to create a space for yet even more brushes or other items used for painting. Another option for a paint caddy would be to take some of these large rubber bands and place them across the top of the shower caddy to create a holder for my long paint brushes. Then use the lower shelves again for paint storage. And then here you can see that the caddies can be hung on the back of a door on one of the Dollar Tree over the door caddies or directly to the wall. There is a lot of different glue in crafting, and to corral all of those different glue types, how about a glue caddy? And in this one, I just removed those middle 2 shelves with a wire cutter. So just there on the edges, just removed on both sides. Then I again took 2 of those Dollar Tree bins and zip tied those to the frame of the caddy. Lastly, I just took some more of those large rubber bands and I placed those across the bottom of the caddy on the 2 hooks at the bottom. And then here is the finished caddy with all of my different types of glues, as well as a small container of spackle there to the side. And at the bottom, that little shelf is perfect for a tube of caulk. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this shower caddy organization hacks video, featuring over 80 organization hacks for just about every room in the house. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give a big thumbs up and please share with anyone you think would also enjoy this content. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on FABEDhacks, where we're putting the extraordinary one DIY at a time.